Hey guys, it's Binja the Body Whisperer here. How's it going today? Just coming to you from day 13 of my 30-day get back into it. Something that changed or was a little different yesterday while I grabbed my gym boss here was, so last night I was out walking, and this is usually about the time I think it starts to happen for me. When I get consistent, first I'll notice, like, if I cut out sugar, it takes about 3 days. If I'm really strict about it, it takes about 3 days for me. And I think that's scientifically what they say, that if you can cut out sugar, that there is, that's how quickly, you know, if you're not adding new sugar in, and that includes like obviously I'm still having some sugar, but not a whole lot of processed sugar at all, except for maybe once a week on a treat day. But if you get out of that habit, it's pretty quick how quickly the body can start to not feel that. Because usually for those first 3 days you feel a little bit of like fog, or oh, I need that sugar, but after about 3 days that starts to fade away, and then you start to, okay, this is the new paradigm, this is the new way to move through life. So with that, yesterday I was feeling pretty good within the movements, lower back, hip. I was walking around noticing that my hip, just my hip movement. Now I'm not saying that it's not there. Sometimes, like, I'll sit, for a while, and then I'll get up and I'll be a little stiff. That's still part of it, and that's something I'm still working on. And I will continue to, probably for the rest of my life. It's just probably the case. It might just be one of those things. And that's fine. At least I know what I'm dealing with there. But I've been walking around noticing that, feeling a little less like tightness in my hip flexors, so that's been a really cool feeling. Just something to be kind of a bit, just as a personal thing, just to be a little bit excited about from just being consistent for 12 days. I'm starting to feel some of those effects, which is cool, and it's rewarding. So today I'm just gonna bang this out. I'm gonna probably do the same thing just because I feel like it's working and I'm liking it right now. So last night, one thing, I was out and I did do a little bit of a jog. I was just feeling good. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna run home. And so I ran home. And then today I was a little bit tighter in my lower back. I think probably because that run just tightened up, used some muscles, tightened up some muscles. So just got to keep on it, keep working on the glutes, keep working on the lower back, keep working on the tightness in the hip flexors. Something that I want to continue to work on that I haven't done with this, but I can feel that it's something to move forward on, is more shoulder movements, back. I want to get more into get into some deadlift. As I start to, probably at the end of this 30 days is when that's what I feel like, just with the way I process things, that's when I'm going to start to like add in some of these other things. I'll be back in town. I'm taking a trip in a few days. So I'll be back in town, I'll be settled, I'll be here. I'll be able to kind of get into something and get into somewhat of a routine, hopefully. So, but when it gets closer, I'll decide on what that is, and then I'll cross that bridge when I get there. So I'm just going to start this off, and we're going to start off with T push-ups. I did my walk for the day. That was good. Alright, there we go. That's it for that. Now we're just gonna do some stretching. Alright, let's start. You can paddle the feet back and forth. If you can bend over and touch your toes, great. If not, wherever you're at. Relax your head and neck. Nod your head yes. Twist your head no. Put your right hand on the left elbow, left hand on the right elbow. Twist back and forth. Let's do some roll-ups. Take your time with this, rolling down. Imagine your head is heavy, and that's the last thing to come up. And then shake it out. Rattle in the bones. That's just kind of relaxing the shoulders. Looking from left to right. Let's roll it back down. Now let's put those hands around the back side of the head. Pull it in. All right, take a break. Now we're gonna do lunge. I think what I'm gonna do is lunge, twist. So lunge, twist, lunge, twist. I can definitely feel there is an imbalance for me somewhere in here. One side is definitely tighter than the other, this side. So I feel like I can twist further that way. So that's easier. I feel like I can get about the same distance, but it's tighter in a different, something's like holding on up through here. So it's just, again, it takes time to unlock these things. So I just keep at it, little by little. Let's take a break. All right, we're gonna start with the inchworm. At least that's what I'm gonna do. Again, like I've said to you, you can do whatever makes sense to you or what you're feeling. If you stretch this entire time, that's just keep doing that. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know if it's possible to be 100% pain-free in that sense of like, as soon as you start working stuff, the environment, the system is gonna, so I think you can mitigate it, and I think you, for the most part, can be, but I think the nature of it is, but at the same time, there's different kinds of pain, right? Like, you gotta ask yourself, why? What's, you know, if you're a paid professional athlete, okay, that's it. The reason you're putting yourself through pain to train and everything is what you do, you know, it's your job, or you're trying to break records, so you have to go through that fine line. You know what I think here? I'm gonna do some deep squats, like this. You know, there's that fine line between, you know, those guys push the envelope between overtraining. It's like that, the right amount of training and overtraining, and then so you can be perfectly, you know, just that. And I don't know if it's possible to just stay on that edge without, because if you're trying to push yourself, you know, that you're gonna kind of, it's such a, probably a fine line between just the right amount of training and overtraining. And those guys, I mean, they get injured, and that's why, you know, they do so much studying and how to maintain or heal injuries, because the longer they're injured. Okay, we're gonna break. the longer they're injured, they can't train, and then they can't be at that edge, right? But they're always pushing that edge. It's from like training enough, overtraining, and injury. And it's like in this, it's such a tiny little, they want to be up here. All right, now we're going to move into downward dog. It's such a fine, but that's cool for us because, for me, everyday person, I want to stay in shape to a certain extent. In that sense of like, I'm not out running marathons, I'm not out running races, but I want to be able to do the things that I do in a day and not be out of wind and keep my weight down for, part of it is aesthetics reasons, but then the bigger part is, health reasons. It's just the more weight you carry, the less active you are. It's just scientifically proven that you run the risk. All right, we're done there. You run the risk of more and more, like if you're overweight, you run the risk of diabetes, heart disease, just so many different things. So that's one of the reasons too why, for me, like I know the aesthetic is. I don't get it. This idea of I'm gonna be yoked, man. That's just not. There was a time when I was playing college football and I needed to gain weight, so that weight just meant that you were playing against guys that were. I was playing against guys 260 and I was maybe just under. I almost got up to 200. I think 198 was my heaviest. But you're, F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration. So, the biggest thing's going to change there is mass. Because acceleration, everybody, I don't want to say everybody, if you can run faster, but for the most part, people are running close to around the same speed. So the way that you can really impact, have a force, is change your weight, right? So that's what I tried doing. Just so that there would be a little more even. But then after that, it was like, well, why? Your heart has to pump blood through muscle, same as anything. So we're gonna twist. So the more you weigh, even if it's muscle, and this is just, again, it's my opinion and philosophy. I'd rather be lean, smaller, maybe what would be on the norm aesthetically a little skinnier, and that's just personal, than to be jacked, bro. Again, now if I had to do a role and I was being paid to gain weight, or if I felt strongly about a role and that's what I was wanting to do, I'd probably gain weight for it. Now, for me personally, and this is where I would probably draw the line, is I don't know if I would gain a ton. There would be a cutoff. Like I might go up to that 200 pounds again, 198, because my body has seen that, but I don't think I would go over that in that sense of like, I've been there, but I wouldn't want to gain a lot of body fat, just because once you gain that, you can't lose body fat. It only shrinks, right? So the same number of cells. The only way you can lose body fat is through liposuction or breastfeeding. So unless you're going to do one of those two things, it's just, in the end, it's sitting there ready to go. It's better not to. That's why they say it's easier to keep it off than take it off, right? So if you can get that mindset, that's a huge thing. It's a good stretch. So yeah, these are just, again, I'm talking. again, if you ever have any questions from some of the things that I post on here, feel free to ask, and I could make a separate video and address them to anyone. So, and again, these are my personal opinions, things I've seen, I've watched people watch different things. You know, you look around and we're sold an idea, men, women, and men. I'm just speaking from the male perspective because, I mean, I see it in the female perspective. I see it. I'm not a part of it in that sense of like, I think I can empathize, but I can't, I don't feel it on a daily. You know, I see and feel more of from the men experience in that sense of like, just from what I notice and how even Hollywood, especially Hollywood, they sell an idea and then companies use that. Any new movie where somebody has to get ripped, you know, they're talking about it. You know, it's the Wolverine diet, it's the Aquaman diet, it's the Superman diet, it's the this, and they're selling an idea. But what you don't see that what's going on, and what I've noticed from most people is they, if you really, it's not hard, like in a sense, like it's really not. It's not as hard as you think, but it's harder than you think, if that makes sense. It's that one of those catch-20, it's one of those classic catch-22s, like anything. You know, when they say care but don't care when you're acting or whatever. You gotta care but not care at the same time. It's like, what does that mean? It's exactly it. It's an easy thing to do, but it's a hard thing to do because it's easy not to do. And the hardest part that I found is honestly, there's the stretches. The hardest part is societal norms and habits. So you gotta get resolve, and even when people are making fun of you, even when people don't understand, and they're absolutely not gonna get it, and they're not gonna make it easy on you either, because you're going away from the herd. But if you show up at a party and you're on a diet, if you slip up on that diet, it's just, you know, you could go 5 days or 4 days or whatever and be on something strict and then mess up. And then if you go back, it depends on what type of diet you're on, it can mess that whole thing up. That's why I don't believe in that necessarily, that type of like really, really restricted, unless you're doing it for a reason in a short period of time, but it's not sustainable. That's why I think if you can develop habits where you consistently know, okay, I eat about this much and I work out about this much, and then that maintains this, then you can have those days where it's like, oh, I'm gonna go out with friends, or I'm gonna do this. There's a little more leeway. So if you're consistent about it over time, then you gain more bandwidth, right? So I don't really worry about it. Last night we went out for, you know, we had a meal and drinks and stuff, and I didn't really, because I've been good and I'm not, you know, I'm moving in the right direction, so I kind of know what I can do, right? So that's it. Binja the Body Whisperer out. Keep moving, people, and there is number 13. Take care.